Hello and welcome to another episode of Spin from the Real. My name is Chris Anthony Lopez, and joining me per usual on the right side of the screen, the CEO of Wild Real Entertainment, that's Matt Thomas, and the best thing to ever happen to Frank Salamone, it's alimony without the divorce. It's Allison Salamone. What's going on,
friends?
People?
What's up?
Finally getting over this gout attack, so I'm great.
We're having a good time. We're gonna have some fun. We have a very special guest joining us on the show today. But before we do any of that, I want to spotlight something real quick. Allison, can you tell the folks what's been going on these social medias today?
Yes. So today I'm wearing my blue and yellow earrings, and I'm wearing the T-shirt that my amazing brother Chess had gotten for me. But today is 3/21, which is March 21st, World Down Syndrome Day, Down Syndrome Awareness Day. It's on 3/21 because Down syndrome is the triplicate of the 21st chromosome. And the way that we celebrate and spread awareness, we rock our funky socks. So I'm not going to stick my leg up because I'm not that flexible, but I got my fun little Donkey Kong socks on today. Chris got his. So if you snap a picture, or just find a stock picture of some socks, I don't care, but you tag me in it on Twitter at Allison Salamone. And you also hashtag World Down Syndrome Day, Down Syndrome Awareness Day, something similar. I will be donating $1 for every single tag up to $200. I got a couple of other people that are going to be joining me to the National Down Syndrome Congress, which is a fantastic organization that my brother works at. And I will be speaking with at their upcoming conference in New Orleans in June. So
yeah,
get to tweeting.
Very
We still got a few more
Very
hours,
nice.
friends. Let's go.
Yeah, 4 more hours, roughly 4 more hours. So.
about
East
and
Coast time. East Coast time.
Allison's Twitter is in the description of this video, as well as he's been for the real Twitter. It's been popping all day.
Yes.
Even if you don't got any type of fun socks, post some regular socks. Those
Post
are
some
fun
socks.
too. Socks are
Or
fun
just-
in general.
They are. And I need to give a big shout out real quick to Moose Haas, who's been liking literally everything, retweeting stuff. The greatest human being on the face of the planet. He's been crushing it. So thank you, Moose. Really appreciate you.
Hell yes. Go support what Allison and some of our friends in the Schmodown space are doing. They're matching Allison's donations. So make sure you go ahead and show them some love on the social medias. But we see a bunch of folks in the chat. What's going on? Brandon, Shug9323. Yes, Matt is the mayor of Wild Real Entertainment. Leo Logan, Ryan Christensen, Brendan Marr. What's going on, Brendan? What's
Hi,
good?
Brennan.
Corey
Cameron's in the chat. So many folks. Thank you guys so much.
many
William
folks.
Harold, Jeremy Miller. What's going on, y'all? I'm so happy that y'all are here. But before we bring in our guests and we chat for a little bit, Matt, what we got going on the channel?
Man, we can do that after. We got time crunch, man. We got time crunch.
I don't want to put my man's business out there, but you know what? Since Matt don't want to chat, at least not just with us, might as well bring in our guests. You might have seen him behind me, but he's at his own humble abode, and he is the chairman, the reason why shows like this exist. This little movie trivia thing, I never cared about movies as much as I did until I started watching this man, like a lot of us did. And we have to give credit where credit's due. He is the chairman of the movie trivia Schmodown. He is Kristian Harloff.
Oh, you need some milk.
So I was gonna wear that stupid hat that's in the back there. So with my spectacular.
Yes,
Yeah.
spectacular.
He was the one who won the big headed spectacular, and he's
remember
like, I had
seeing-
no idea what to do with this as soon as he got it.
Carried it.
I
carried
didn't
it on
know.
the plane.
I didn't even know they made that thing, and I think I can't. I want to tell you that I maybe saw it when I was up in the balcony in the Waldorf and Statler seats, and I looked and I go, "Is that my stupid head?" and then I remember seeing it in the video footage, and I was like, I didn't even know that they made that dumb thing, and I wish I would have gotten photo approval.
Yo, I mean, I was more than happy to grab it. I was sitting right next to Matt at the time, and he said, like, Chris, you got to just do it. And I'm like, all right. So I blew my vocal cords out doing this damn thing. And the show
Stood up and was jumping, pumping his arms.
Yeah.
And I had to carry it through LAX and Midway here in Chicago. Like, folks are like, who is
Well,
that?
you now join my wife, and the two unfortunate people have to wake up to my face every night.
And I don't hide it. It's in my apartment. My roommate's like, "Who is that?" I'm like, "It's a long story."
My
very
favorite-
long.
my
Tell him it's a long story. Show him the videos.
Well, no, he knows what the hell I do every Monday. He knows what the hell this is. But taking this shit home, it was nuts.
My favorite part about that whole story was the fact that he had to go back on the plane to grab it from the overhead bin.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I walked onto the plane with it because I couldn't check it. You know,
Yeah.
it was a whole thing. But Kristian, it's a pleasure having you. It's an honor, actually, having you on Spin from the Real. We've been doing this show for almost 2 years, Matt.
Yeah,
And
2 years in April or May. Yeah,
it's nuts, and we obviously big fans, but getting on the program is like a bucket list thing, so we can happily check that off.
But didn't I jump on a show with you guys once, like when you first started off?
you were in the chat. You were in the chat. Kristian.
I popped on. Did I pop onto the show, or was I?
I think Matt and I would have remembered.
Yeah,
Really?
you popped on in the chat, and Chris and I always think back to that moment and like, man, we
like,
really
was that him?
messed up this show because we're like, as soon as you popped in the chat, we like our demeanor changed. We're like, oh,
Yeah,
Well, we got to be
wow.
professional now. Let's go.
Yeah, because we're over here acting all stupid and dumb, talking about I forget what was it, season 7? No, season 6 at the time.
no, season 6.
And it was it was
6. Wow.
it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
No, it was 7. It hasn't been 7 because I remember doing it from over there on that side, and I wasn't in this studio yet during 6. It had to been 7.
Okay. No, actually, yeah, it was.
Right, it was 7. Yes,
But-
yes, it was 7, and then
But Kristian was in the chat, and we were very shook by it. And you should have just saw Matt and I after the show. But that's besides the point. We have a fun wheel. Ironically, because Kristian tried his damn to stick it away from the digital wheel, but we're like, you know what?
We're
Come
gonna
back
bring it
on
back.
our show and do it.
As long as it doesn't count for people's records, and I don't have to see opponents or spinners choice, I don't mind the digital wheel.
well, you don't have to see opponents or spinners choice, but there is chairman's choice on there. So
That's fine. How about though? I saw a couple of weeks ago and Matt, you went through it because you started spinning it and it kept landing on the same stupid thing over and over again.
We feel the pain now.
So imagine that in the middle of a title match in front of 1,000 people watching on a pay-per-view and not wanting to smash your head into a desk.
oh yeah,
It's the worst.
I
It was
literally
a tie, right?
I feel his pain. I feel his pain.
It was with Ty.
worst.
Yeah, literally, we were just thank God for people like Ty Lieberman that can banter through it.
Yeah, I like that fashion segment that you guys did with him. It was fun.
Yes,
That was
it
all
was,
I
it was a
could.
great time. It was a lot of fun to do too. Just because, and we didn't know how cool Ty was going to be with it, but he enjoyed it very much. So hell yes.
Yeah.
So we do have a bunch of fun slices on here, talking about some
good.
Titans, talking about a bunch of other things like Return of the Goat ? With Sam Levine, some sophomore surge. Maybe talk about some sophomores. The top 3, which if we land on it, Allison will run us through for a minute. We have everything but with KH.
Which
We'll
gives
talk about
you
that
the
if we get there.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Chairman's Choice, a little bit of a wild card,
Yeah.
and the movement begins, and we're cutting some scenes if we get there.
Go
But let's spin this damn thing. Come on.
Yes, I said this. I don't know where I said it. I think it was backstage. I think what you guys did was very smart. You changed up nothing against people who do the matches and do all that stuff, and you guys certainly do that as well. But I like the fact that you added this because it plays into what the Schmodown is, and it gives you it makes you stand out. Smart.
It was backstage, and if for those who didn't see, we landed on wild card, which I was not
right.
expecting. But
We never get wild cards.
No, we don't.
Great.
I am this week's wild card, and you've talked a lot in the past about storylines that you wish could have been. I was curious if you could go over some that you had in mind, maybe from the past 2 seasons that we maybe didn't get to see play out due to the pandy and all that nasty.
Tougher one to do because I like to hold some of that close because I might still be able to use it.
Fair.
Like so. I mean, there's stuff that. There's tons of things that either happened because someone lost and I couldn't play some things down. I was going to have, I will say, and I had already, I think I said this somewhere else, but maybe I didn't. I think I said it on bench on backstage. Roxy was supposed to join Chandru at Spectacular. Romanati reveal was supposed to happen in Spectacular.
Oh,
Interesting.
Both of those things were going to happen in Spectacular. And so for people who were like, what I will reveal, I don't think I told anybody this, and even Frank Janish, who is absolutely 100% wrong He says, I don't think Sam Levine was originally intended to be Shrominati. Sam was always intended to be Shrominati.
Really?
Not maybe not in the manner of which it happened, but he was always going to be the Shrominati. And there was someone else that was going to join him, but I moved that person to do something else.
Can I ask, because I know for the longest time, like on shows like this, Matt and I would always like lose our damn minds about the Shmominati, especially like me, just trying, like my pro wrestling brain's going through all these different things. And at any point, I mean, this might be for different things in the future, but I was a big Mark Ellis guy in regards to Shmominati, and I think
we talked about it. Yes, we talked about it.
Oh my god, because it made so much sense.
It did, but there were, if for being a wrestling guy, you know, one of the few people who never went heel was either Sting or Ricky Steamboat, right? And that's kind of how we want to keep Mark Ellis, you know. And plus the fact that Mark has been very, I mean, over the last couple of years has been really, really great with the storylines. When we first started it out, he was like, you and your little storyline thing, you know, and then once it started to really move and cook, he knows the show. There is no more, even as silly as Mark can be, there is no more of a professional than Mark Ellis, right? And he's like, what I love about it now, this way this new structure works with Titans, is that I've actually been able to do what I've always wanted to do, and I'm just moving behind the scenes at all times. And I used to at Collider, I'd have to go on the desk, and then I'd stop, and then I'd have to try, and we'd always go a way over schedule because I'd have to try to then shoot scenes. But now I have I'm confident in the desk team. But Mark will call me over and be like, all right, what story beats are we working on here? What are the ones that are the most? What do you want to make sure that gets hit? And we have all those kind of conversations. And so yeah, no, Shmominati wise for him, no, it was maybe kind of in passing, and he thought he would have, if I really would have pushed him to do it, he would have done it, but it didn't make sense overall. It just didn't make sense.
I mean, I totally was in the camp of like our two movie trivia dads, Kristian and Mark, just like butting heads, you know, because and the Shmominati, even with the reveal of it and with Sam, and how I think even in the little cutscene that we did after we got the unmasking, like it was like, oh look, it's me, and everyone in the space. I don't think anyone thought it was Sam. Like no one, especially being like a manager already existing. Everyone was thinking outside of who is already here. Is it Emma? Is it Clark? Like all these different people. But having Mark as again, like as much as I am like with my pro wrestling brain, that totally makes sense. Having the one constant face.
Yeah, and well, two things to touch on there was Sam, and that's why I got like, you know, and it's hard not to, whenever no matter where you are, what you're doing in your life, if you put something out there creative, you have to be ready for criticisms, because that's part of the game. But you also are allowed to get frustrated when people don't give it a chance, right? So like we put out that Sam introduction first on the video out there first. Way to start out with a downer, Harloff, and it's like, just wait, calm down. Because
just watch. Because
without that announcement of him doing that, it doesn't get you going, oh man, Sam, he was so good. I guess that's and I wonder if he's ever going to come back and play. And then we hit you right in the face with it to start the season, and you're like, oh, they got me. And that was the point of it. And to answer Matt, even though he's gone, but his question, one of the questions as far as what storyline I had that I'm bummed I didn't get, I remembered one that it's very unlikely that we would do it because she's too busy right now. But Clark Wolf was supposed to be the 40th competitor in the 2020 free-for-all when we were live.
Oh shit!
And Clark was gonna go, and we also had Clark at one point. We had set it up in one of the interviews with Shire Wolves if they had lost the titles, but they didn't. Where Clark was gonna go heel. We had that at one point.
Turn on Rachel?
On all of them, on all of Five Club.
Oh my God!
Clark was down, and Clark was ready. And if you see Clark when she was commissioner, we had a much bigger angle for Clark as commissioner before the pandemic hit. Like there was a scene that when all of the competitors kept coming up to her, we're trying to get the number from her, and she just got so frustrated that in the storyline it was going to play that she said, "The hell with this! I'm just going to give myself a number," and she came in at number 40. And if she won, she would play it for a title. If not, who cares? She had never had a chance to play in the free for all ever, so we wanted to do that, but then it all went to hell.
Oh man, that would have been awesome.
Yeah,
that's nuts. I know our boy Leo Logan in the chat said he thought it was Guy himself, like a Fight Club type situation, and I completely forgot. This is how good of a fan I am. Like, I completely forgot that Sam and Guy, Guy was on Sam's faction for a little bit.
That's why we did it. And Corey's right. I saw Corey's. That's exactly why Sam was always one, because if you look, we said it, and that's, by the way, for people who were like, yeah, right, this is just George Lucas always saying Darth Vader was the father. If you look at an interview that Sam did with Guy when Guy was going nuts, I gave Sam a note back then. It was like a year and a half ago, and I was like, just kind of toy with him a little bit. Like, you don't know what's going on. And you clearly do. We knew Sam was it from the beginning. We just didn't know how we were going to do it. So that played in there. But what I will say is, for everybody who says the Shmo Minotti storyline went into, do you curse on this show? Because I don't curse.
Yes, on you go right ahead.
Right. So for anybody who said that Shmo Minotti went on too long, no shit. I know. And you also have to make sure that that it was one of those things you just kept pushing because the digital I think it was a certain point of view that said that the shows were going on, like the scenes, basically what you would do, the scenes weren't as, like, now everything is a narrative, right? And like every episode of Titans kind of flows, and even if it doesn't necessarily flow for that particular episode, it'll flow into the next one or 3 episodes down. Where what we were doing on digital, it was matches that just had a scene. Maybe we shot it just didn't work. And so, and Andrew Guy had come up with the Shmo Minotti thing in a fit of lunacy during the pandemic. And that's another thing, that angle came out of me trusting in Andrew to do something silly, because he's like, because if it was live, if it was in no pandemic and Andrew was doing the angle that we had, that would have never happened. The Shmo Minotti wouldn't have been a thing. It was developed because of the craziness that was going on in the world, and it was a whole angle that we had built up between Andrew and Mike, and we were going to do a live event in Houston, and we are going to do this whole thing with Mike and Andrew because it was going to be massive. And then I was like, okay, well, you could play Mike, and you could you could play him in a number 1 contender match. Like, I'm going to go IG route or whatever the hell it was. And then Andrew's like, I don't know. Andrew's like, I'm going to do something so completely different. Do you trust me? I'm like, go ahead, whatever you want to do. And then he comes out like this, and it was like Beautiful Mind stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell that was. I was like, I don't know if I hate it. And then I was like, let's just play with it. And then we started to, and then we just went. And then once we went far enough with it, that we started to write those scenes for Spectacular, which I was very proud of. That was a lot of fun for Spectacular. It was it last year? Yes, for season 7. And yeah, that's just how that whole thing kind of came about.
Can I know we're timing our slices so we can get through as many as we can with you as possible.
Yeah.
But I want to get your 2 cents on this, because we had Allison a few weeks ago watch Dan Murrell for the first time. She had never seen it. And
somehow never spoiled, which was wild.
That's what, and you recently, and you saw it recently?
Yeah, we did a watch along right before Titans had started. Before it was the season hadn't it was, I think, like a couple weeks before the pay-per-view. So we just did a fun little watch along where we had a bunch of things on the wheel, and then just chose to watch Murrell Guy because I've never seen it. Somehow it's never been spoiled for me.
That's great.
And everyone was like, just go watch it, just do it. So
did you lose your mind?
I lost my goddamn mind. It was
the
wild.
Match ever.
And then watching you and Mark during the match, like, I felt my anxiety.
You're very kind to say Mark. Look at Mark. Mark looks like he's watching this football game on ESPN, and I'm watching my future awning burn up. By the way, so you guys, if it's cool with you, I got until 6. I got 40 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So that was that was a crazy match. It turned. Guy was already on his way to being like one of the big superstars of the league, and what was so bizarre about that, you talk about storylines that just went strangely in a way that kind of made a lot of sense, was Guy was 0-0 in singles. He had never played before. So we did a whole angle where he was running around, because what happened with that, so Dan Murrell had retired. he retired on me surprisingly after our title match, and he said to me, he did it and you look at my shock when he retires, and I was like, I should have just gotten that question wrong if I knew this was gonna happen. but he retired, and then he and I were talking on the phone because Dan and I are very good friends, and he called me. He's like, look, I've been thinking about maybe coming back, and I'm like, what about the free for all? It'd be fun. And he's like, yeah, let's do the free for all. So the free for all, Dan was coming back, and unfortunately, had just something happen in his life where he wasn't able to make it, and he had just some personal stuff going on, so he couldn't make it. So I was like, well, how do we do this? And Guy, we started setting these little interstitials where Guy was walking around saying he was the guy that beat Dan Murrell, and before that had even happened. Like he was the guy that beat him. We didn't shoot those after. We shot it before, way before. Like I shot it with every intention that Dan was going to kick the piss out of Guy. And I'm like, so just to make it look like what Chandru does, but just knowing that, of course, who cares? Andrew Guy's a teams player. Who the hell cares if Dan kills him? He's a team action guy. Mm-hmm. And we kept doing these little things, and I was like, it sets it up so perfectly for this event. And this is what I always say about Andrew Guy. Andrew Guy is one of the most talented people I've ever worked with because he can keep, like he's an emotional dude like myself, but he can keep emotion out of the professionalism. He can be professional inside of it. And he and I got into it behind the scenes. I don't know if I've talked about this or not, but he and I, there was something because Sam had done something had said something on the desk at one point during a match that was similar to the moment when Ben said Giancarlo Stanton. And then because of the live event, I couldn't hear it. And I said, what? And that's wrong. He's already wrong at that point. But I said, what? So then after I said what, they said Esposito. And they're like, no. And I think we even gave him another question. The fact that they got another question is crazy. But Andrew afterwards was really mad, and he and I kind of got into it downstairs, and we were kind of yelling at each other. But he had already, as hot as he was, he knocked out that promo. Without him and that Horseman reveal, everyone talks about how big that Horseman reveal is. Without Andrew Guy, that Horseman reveal falls flat on its face.
Wow.
So, and that's awesome.
I really wanted Allison to watch that match. It's my favorite match ever, solely because of the theatrics behind it, right? Yeah. Like that's like the gameplay, like it's one of Dan's worst matches, if not his worst match he's ever played. But because the bickering back and forth, like Dan getting visually upset with Andrew.
Dan was very mad. He was very mad. And
just looking at and Andrew knew what buttons to press, and all this different stuff, and then your reaction, your face that you made, like that I just showed everybody.
Yeah,
like you can just tell, like all these ideas that you had, like for Dan's big return, Guy just stepped all over him.
I was also nervous because, like I said, Dan and I are very close friends, and it's the only time, still to this day, like if you're in my position, you're gonna have people yelling at you all the time, right? But like Dan had never gotten upset with me. He was really mad at me after that. He was really, because he thought that I set him up. And,
oh no!
And we were outside on the street, and he's like, you set me up. I'm like, Dan, why in the world would I set you up, brother? I'm like, why would I set you up? What in what world would that make sense to me? I'm like, and Dan just loves the game, and Dan just loves, and he didn't know, because I kept telling him like this guy, and I thought it, and you take me back to that time, and I'll still tell Dan the same thing. You're going to kill this guy. But Dan realized quick that the game had just changed from what he used to. He would show up, he'd be on his way to work, and he would do a title match at 9 a.m, and then he'd go to work and work for, but then it just became more of a thing as more people got more competitive. And then Dan did what Dan does and just turned it all the way around. Just became, like, I remember on tons of shows, people were like, yeah, maybe at that point, Dan, it's over for Dan. Dan had a run back then. And then Dan said, yeah, here, hold this. And then just won like 4 more titles, defended a bunch of them. So no one's going to be talking about, even though they talk about that match, it's a small blip on the career.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And I feel like that match too, if I'm remembering correctly, in round 2 on that wheel round, he had gotten opponent's choice, and that's how he ended up with the romantic comedies, right?
I think
it was romance, yeah,
or romance. And knowing that that's one of Guy's just random things that he's really good at. I feel like that's like the perfect example of just like how that one bad wheel slice can just
and we'll get
more to it, but I feel like what's been done with Titans, with how the matches are now, with everything being the 10 questions, then 5, and then your 3 at the end, it definitely, I feel like it takes a lot of pressure off of that second round to be like the deciding round, because you get up 3 now with these 10 questions, and when people go perfect, and it definitely, I feel like it makes for really a lot more, even more fun to watch, having those more questions in round 1. But it takes a lot. It makes you have to really watch round 1 and do well in round 1, because now if you really get behind, it's a bigger gap to try to face and try to cover, and more stress going into that next round.
Yeah, and look, there's credit to the rule committee, right? Because Bibbs and PJ and Mara and Frank, everybody involved in that committee, and they like, so the way that whole thing went down is they met in like that think tank, and then they came back, and there's a lot of stuff that they presented. There was a lot of stuff I liked. There's a lot of stuff I didn't like. There was stuff that I was like, I can't remember what. There was one particular thing where Bibbs tried to slip it in, and I'm like, he's like, oh, so we got this one. I'm like, no. That it was the whiteboards. It was the whiteboards in round 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. I don't know if I've hated anything more than that. I hate that.
Wow.
And they tried to slip that through there because the argument behind it or whatever it was, and I was like, no, that's got to go. But for one thing I didn't like, they presented like 10 things that I did, and one of those things was universally just making everything the same, because for a long time Star Wars was 10 and the IG was 10 and singles was 8, and they were like, it's more consistent as a game that way, and they didn't get an argument. They're like, I said, oh, you're 100% right, we should just go with that. There was a change that they presented in the 3rd round that they took a swing on, and then they had done a couple tests on it and just didn't work. But I will say this, I think that I came up with a switch on the 3rd round. Unfortunately, I came up with it around a month and a half ago that we couldn't implement it this year. Can't just put it up in the middle of nowhere. But I think that I might test it out in like a special. That's the beauty of Titans. I could just test it out in a specialty match and see if you guys like it, and if you guys dig it, then see what the audience is saying, and if it works, and maybe we present it as the official 3rd round of moving forward. I happen to think it's the best version of the 3rd round we've ever done. I think it makes the game sweeter. I think that it makes it more even. But we got to try it out first.
Word. And see, now I'm trying to think, like, what could you possibly change about the 3rd? I mean, now because I've been so trained since the jump.
Yeah, sure.
Like you get the 3. You pick the numbers, you get your questions, but that's weird. That's nuts. But we do have to move on, because you gotta. We have Cage for a little bit longer, but we're gonna spin the wheel again. Hopefully, we don't get another wild card.
I swear to God,
we're done with the wild cards now.
All done with the wild card.
MTS has a couple. We only get the 1. That's it.
Yeah.
So, oh my God!
Of course,
this is Chris's favorite. Chris loves it. He's so excited.
No, I'm not. So
yes, you are.
What's it mean?
We're cutting the scenes. We're basically talking about the storylines.
Okay.
Talking about this is what you said you wanted the actor shows to do. So
you don't like talking about the scenes, Chris?
He loves it. That's the issue.
You tortured me with this, Kristian. I really hope you. For the longest time.
Yeah.
I've been such a like corruption. That's my home faction. That's my home base.
I see. So I ripped your heart out of your chest last week.
And what happened was, like my love for Adam Collins goes all the way back to when he beat Roka. I was like, this is the guy. This is the guy now. Like from this point forward, he's the guy. And I got a lot of shit for it. And I was the flag bearer for the Adam Collins bandwagon. I was Karen. And for the longest time, I was like, oh, it's a matter of time before he gets back with corruption in this offseason. And then you hit me with this. And I believe it was on LGR. Let's get ready. They had posed a question, and I can't help but agree. This may be, if it's not the best cutscene ever, it's the best acted cutscene you've ever seen in the Schmodown, solely because of Shannon Barney. Everybody else is icing on the cake.
Yeah, I called.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I called into their show, the Any Given Schmo Day on Sunday.
Our buddies Dagan and Corey.
And and I talked about it, and I happen to agree and think that it's the best. And Allison, I'd actually like to get your thoughts on this, because I pushed back heavily on something that I'd heard on their other show that I want to kind of beat the drum on this, because Shannon and I talked about this for a while before the scene, after the scene aired. the idea that, you know, her crying was a sign of weakness is, I think, the silliest thing I've ever heard. I thought it was a sense of power, it was a sense of strength, it was a sense of the fact that her understanding that she knew that she had messed up, and she understood.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Adam Collins being a man or a woman. It's the fact
Nope.
this was a family member, and she screwed up. And she
Yeah.
looked at it, and what she could have done is I think the weakness would have been if she would have turned and said, all right, Winston, you want to go at it? Blah, blah, blah. But instead she surrendered to the idea of saying, you know what, I surrendered.
I fucked up.
I messed up.
And
I think there's no worse emotion, just in general, especially for me, because I'm always right about everything and everyone else is just wrong. Even
I can't confirm.
But when you're wrong about something, and especially when you're going out of your way to like try to prove a point, or which is what it felt like she was doing with when she made her announcements, because maybe Adam didn't perform in this last season as well as she would have liked for him to. So she's like, let me keeping him on his toes. So that'll be a little tough love, and it bit her in the ass. And then you realize you just had this power team, and it's not like Adam Collins is just some random person from the faction, right? Like he was a pillar of that faction in general.
Won her the championship in season 7.
Yeah, exactly. So like he's when you think corruption, you think Adam, Marisol, Mike, Chance, Shannon. Like those are the ones, and so that's who you're thinking of. So you're having one of those people who goes, well, she's not, like, I gotta watch out for me. And so when you have that moment and she says, take care of my boy, I lost it. Like I started crying, because it's like, at the end of the day, like when you have this realization, like, shouldn't have gone about it that way. I think it ties together perfectly her original announcement to this point and the storylines that we're going to get from it.
Yes.
I mean, when she took the crown off, and I think of like, even like like she's taking her crown off, like she's throwing her crown down, like she's like, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And that was her realization of it.
And she might look, here's the other thing that I said to the guys over there too, is that let's see where she goes now, right? Because she might put the crown back on and see if it still fits metaphorically, you know, and she might start to try to play into anger again, or she might surrender to the fact that it's time for her to say, wait a minute, I don't want that to happen again. But that's the question of where does the character go. But as you said, Allison, that's the whole thing, is that when she made that announcement up top, and like where people were saying, well, it was so sudden, it came out of nowhere, she wouldn't do that. Watch what's going on. She makes the announcement to say, this is the way it's always been. I've done it my way. I've got 2 championships. I'm going to do it my way. And guess what? If you're not performing at the level that you were, then you could go just like that. And I'll bring in an Ethan Irwin. How do you feel about that? And in her mind, she's thinking, well, that'll snap him out of it. Yeah. That'll put him back. That'll give him that fire. And he's like, well, I gotta look out for me. If she's going to, I can't like be, what if my spot's
I didn't think about that. Like I didn't think about how in the week before, or she was talking to talking to Ethan real quick and telling him how he would be looking good in red and black. Like I know that was in the previously on, but like even throwing that in there, you're like, she's really like, if I was Adam Collins, I would have done the same thing. I'm like, she doesn't want me. Like I want to play. I don't want to play by myself. I want a faction. I'm a good player.
Well, didn't Adam Collins represent all of us at that moment when he said, wow, I didn't expect this? Like none of us expected that. And he said, well, I didn't expect that. He expected her to, you know, say, all right, get out of here, do this, blah, blah, blah. And instead he says, no, I can't accept your offer. I can't do it. And it's so funny. Everyone's like, where did Winston appear from? There's another door on the other side.
I just got to say,
another door.
They were more sad. Me being the resident swag head, and I know you know how close I am with Winston. I was like, yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
For Adam, if he's not going to be on corruption, I think him on swag is perfect with Oyama and Winston.
Allison, you just touched on what I was going to get to. Kristian has vehemently said he does not think super teams work.
Who's to say that those guys are super teams?
And I was just about to say, a lot of people think it might be Oyama and Collins. I don't think so.
Well, look, it's possible, but even if they are, but that's what people are going to have different definitions of what a super team is, right? Two high skilled players. People are like, wow, you don't think super teams work? What about Sam Levine? What about Drew McWeeny? Sam Levine was 3-4 when they got together.
Right.
Drew McSweeney has never been had never had the greatest success in singles, and he had never played in teams before. Clark Wolf was a legend in her own right, but Rachel was coming off of a team with Ken Knapsack, and she didn't have a lot of success.
Rachel wasn't Rachel yet.
Right.
She wasn't Rachel yet, and she still didn't have a lot of. She had not. People forget that the reason why Rachel had such an emotional reaction to when she beat Mike that first time for the title is because she had tried for 2 or 3 seasons to get that belt, and she finally got it. So that was not the established kind of legend that Rachel is now. She wasn't there yet, so that was not a super team. Look, Paul Oyama had a great rookie season. He had a great rookie season. Mm-hmm. Since then, he's had okay seasons. Okay, right? Mm-hmm. And 3-for-all last year, granted, but he has an okay season. Adam Collins, great first season. Okay, maybe even subpar season last year. So these are 2 very skilled players. Super team? No, I wouldn't say super team.
I guess to me, considering they are, and Corey Cameron actually says it perfectly, we're talking about 2 former singles champions.
Sure. But that's skill. But you're getting to a place at an elite level when you mention who you think are like really good players as they start to get inside of that top 10, right? Then a lot of them have championships one way or another. So it is, look, I understand that as far as, and this is the thing where you're going to find these factions that have 5 people that there's going to be like an A team and a B team a lot of times on both factions. And the A team are a lot of look at, would you call at this point, Mike and Chance, if they got together today, would they be a super team? I don't think so. Chance hasn't won a struggle.
She's struggled mightily in singles.
And I think, look, this is a hot take from me. I think Chance is a better singles player than I think Adam Collins is, to be honest with you.
Woo!
I do. Because Chance has proven to me over the heat of the last 4 or 5 seasons. Look at Matt; he's ready to fall in his chair.
I know. I'm just shocked. I did not expect to hear that.
And Adam Collins. I've talked to Adam Collins because look. I'm not going to tell you that Shannon didn't speak for me in a little bit, and I've had this conversation with Adam Collins. I straight up, I think Adam Collins in season 7 had the eye of the tiger. Like. There was no one getting through there. Dan Murrell was kicking ass when he ran up against Adam Collins, and they went to go sudden death or something spectacular.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So Dan Murrell was Dan Murrell when Adam Collins beat Dan Murrell, right? So not that Dan Murrell is now, but I'm just saying that he was at the height and doing all these. It's defended twice or whatever it was. Adam Collins looked indestructible because he had that eye of the tiger. Get out of my way! You cannot beat me. That was gone last year. In every match he played. I'm not telling you that his trivia, his skills weren't on, but that fierceness, and this is why I think he's one of the most kind and just really good humans. His focus was Marisol winning the championship, and his focus was making sure Marisol did good. He wasn't focused on Adam Collins. Now, as a human being, that's great. As a player, you got to have that drive, and I think, and it looks like he's got it back. It looks like he's got it back
for sure. And I love what I've been loving too with these different cutscenes and everything. Is I feel like we're getting a mix of things, right? Like we started that pay-per-view with Gucci trying to sell someone a sock for $300. You know, so we have like the goofy, the fun stuff with it, and then we end on something that's either a fun reveal. Like I think one of my favorite cutscene reveals, but obviously besides this one this past week with how emotional it was, but one of my favorites was when Ty Lieberman and Whitney Seibold teamed up, and then you have flowers pop up. That was honestly, I think that might be one of my absolute favorite cutscenes so far. With Ty just walking around being Ty, and then they just dominate in the next week with that match again. Oh my god, probably one of my. And then of course you have JTE and Paul Preston are always just
THE.
Yeah.
The Paul Preston. I just want an ASMR of the Paul Preston and Adam Witt just talking as I fall asleep because they have like the most soothing voices of all time.
Their song, David B did an updated version of that song, their theme song, and it didn't get it to we didn't get it to post in time. So the next time they play, you'll hear it, but I don't think you'll be able to hear it if I play it on my computer. But it starts off with, you know me, I'm JTE, and he says, I'm the THE, and then the music pops in, and it's
that's awesome.
And then you actually have Adam Witt going yes inside of the actual song. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Oh, I can't wait. That's gonna be amazing. I love it so much.
My favorite thing about the corruption and now swag being introduced into this thing, because like the emotional beats and how well everybody did in the scene was rad. But now I'm thinking like long term, like, because like what you guys said, Shannon now realized she goofed and she messed up, and although Marisol was very supportive in the moment, what does that spell for the relationship that they will have going forward? Right. Especially if Adam will, if he will, like how I think he will, continue to succeed. Because Winston's like, if he's one of the best managers the Shonen's ever had, and now with Adam, and a lot of criticism behind Adam was, oh, he doesn't have a character, he doesn't know how to cut a promo. Well, shit, now we don't have to because Winston can do it for him. And
just to counter that, Adam Collins killed it in that scene.
He totally
killed it in that scene. So Adam Collins inside of, and I was a little nervous about him in cut scenes, because we did a cut scene with, and I'll give a reason for him afterwards. But like we had done this scene at the cantina where he was supposed to play in tournament match, but something happened and somebody, I think he was supposed to play Lon. I can't remember what was supposed to happen, but we basically did that exhibition match between him and Dan, and we did a cut scene to explain it, and we did it, and Adam was off the plane, had just gotten off the plane. We threw him into the scene, and he was kind of scattered, and he didn't. And I'm like, oh man, maybe this guy can't do scenes. But then I looked back at it, had nothing to do with him. It had the fact to do with he gets off a plane, and I throw these directions at him. He's about to play. He doesn't have his manager or anyone around. And then you look at the scenes that he cut by himself when he was the champion, and he was doing these scenes with the belt and all this stuff, which was his, and he came up with this stuff on his own. It was really funny, and it was really good. And then I gave him the direction of what I needed him to do for this scene, and he just knocked it out of the park. He was great. He understood the angle. He got the angle. So I was very impressed with what Adam did. And I can tell you from the conversations, he wants to tear off some heads.
Nice.
Yeah. Right.
Well, while we are on the subject of cutscenes and all the stuff, we had a lot of cutscenes and things leading into this season, one of which Shug, our friend of the show, former co-host, sent in a Streamlab, and he said, great show, everyone. So happy to see Kristian on Spin from the Reel and having some great conversations. Kristian, just wanted to say thank you for giving me Bateman on the Den for life. Keep coming with the hot takes, Kristian.
Well, thank you. Shug's the best. And even though he was convinced in his silly ass tweet that I was leaking stuff, which was not me, but it was hilarious. Very funny though. I was
my man's very outlandish. He has a lot of takes.
Some hot takes.
Like no, but that was
real hot takes.
He's been most supportive fans out there, and I know he loves the Den, so he's gonna be pretty happy with the Den this year. So I mean, they got some moves. They got some moves they're working on those Den folk.
I love Jen Kemp in her match with Doug Benson when she's like, I'm a woman, so I'm allowed to say it. All these blonde actresses look the same. I died. I was laughing so hard.
I'm a big fan of Jen Kemp. I think that she's got I think she's one of those competitors that doesn't give herself enough credit. She's kind of self-deprecating, but that also makes her so charming, I think, with the way that she does it. But she's very funny. She's very creative. She comes up I actually want to do a thing with her where during the pandemic she did this thing with like a ukulele or whatever she was doing and she has I want to have a heel that sings songs.
Yeah.
And she anytime she's about to play opponent, she just makes like a really degrading song about them. And
that'd be epic.
Go with her.
That'd be fantastic.
We want to get one more wheel spin in with you real quick, Kristian, before we run out.
How long is the show? My wife will yell at me. Whatever. Let's just have fun.
All right.
He said it.
he said it. All right.
Let's do it.
Let us do it. I just got to bring up that stupid app that you got to open up each separate time. Love
the cutscenes this year have been stellar, and it proves. I think it proves to a lot of folks that the Schmodown is just better with the character building. Like, yeah, the matches are fun and all, but damn, like
better with the
cutscenes
show.
are the shit.
It's just a show. It's like it's a full-on show, and it's one of my favorite comments that we've been getting so far. Is that the people who used to watch it for trivia? I was like, okay, well, I gave it and now I understand it. I get it. I understand why it's a full show. What I don't like, and I'll have to get over it. What I don't like is when people still watch just for the trivia when the damn trivia is on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, look, if you want to watch just for the trivia, then give them the matches to some views. Don't skip on Titans. That's not what Titans is to watch the show. You want to just watch the trivia. We gave you that option.
Right.
And go to Tuesday and Thursday. Someone the other day was like, when did Sam come back? And I'm like, I was like, did you watch the thing? Oh, I just picked the trivia. I'm like, then why do you care?
I know you and I have had a couple conversations talking about some other stuff, but that's one of the best comments you've ever.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but yeah, we landed on The Movement Begins, and
damn right.
woo,
Yo, we talked about JTE.
JTE in that flashy suit. Woo!
Can I? So I always take extensive notes on here. Like I have a bunch of notes from the matches and from the show, right? And the first thing I put about JTE is JTE's chain and AK-47. Like,
I don't know, but it is. It's probably gonna have to change it. I think somebody had pointed that out. I think, but we'd already shot some stuff too. I don't know. We have to look at that.
It looks like it. Like
him, I don't know. I gotta check. But like what I will say about that is that's when people ask, is all the creative stuff and all the storyline stuff and character stuff, is it all me? No, it's not. Like JT was like, hey, I had an idea of where I would kind of come in now after Gucci got rid of me, that I feel like I'm more stylish than him, and I come in with like these ridiculous outfits, and I'm like, I love it.
Let's go.
And then
I love JTE. I was just watching one of his on a Video Chronic quiz last week with him and PLD for The Rock, and how he repeated everything. I'm like, I get why it's called the JTE rule now. I understand where.
And he did it again. He did it again, where we're gonna have to make another rule with him over this past week with that. I mean, I understand, but I understand the controversy behind the fact that he repeated the stuff, and he repeated, like, you gotta give some slack to Andrew and Ellis, right? They're in the moment there, and we're getting used to the rule book and all that. Like, and I stand by both Ellis and Andrew's decision 100%. If you can go back and you can watch, and if I was in the position knowing what I did now, what I would have charged them and said, hey, I think that one of the other shows had said this too. You basically should have just charged them for a JTE at that point, and give them another. You read it again, but you charge them for the JTE, because that JTE does that, and he's been doing that for a while. He'll go, oh wait, how many? Can I do this, dude? You've been playing this since season 1.
It's very much a strategy thing. You can see it when he plays.
It's like a basketball player, a baseball player who knows how to maneuver. Knows in basketball, someone who knows how to get the call from the ref and knows he's an old vet, and he knows what he's going to do in order to try to. And he got one over on the judges this one, and the judges were just doing their thing. But like but that's honestly what the after shows and everybody what they do now, because it's out there. You can guarantee that they're going to be like, cut it out. Cut it out. You got away with it last time. Cut it out.
So this is going to be like the first official JTE rule amendment, like
JTE rule, the JTE rule.
Yeah.
The JTE rule, section 1.
Should just call it
section 2.
Rule. Yeah, the movement rule.
The movement rule.
The
movement clause.
This past Q&A you did on Facebook, I know it's kind of off topic, but not. You had a stance on the Mount Rushmore conversation, and you included JTE as a part of your little Mount Rushmore and how you interpreted it. Yeah. Is that why? How he plays the game?
Just because he's one of the, like I said, when the reason why when somebody asked me about the Rushmore thing, like it was, Jill said it on certain point of view, and she's 100% right. Rushmore, knowing what Rushmore is not about who was the best and who did this. It was about who founded it. That's what Rushmore was made for. And it was who was instrumental in the foundation of building it, right? And it was, and again, not to pat ourselves on the back, it was myself and Mark, right? JT was in the first match. You could probably also put Kristian Rubalcaba in there as well, but JT was always the guy who, anytime during the Schmoes era, if we had a trivia contest or some bit that we wanted to do, we threw JTE in there, right? And then Maria Menounos offered us that studio, and without that studio, the Schmoedown never happens. Without that studio, Schmoes no season. Like, people don't understand that in between phase 3 and phase 5 of we were in like some office space during phase 4. It was terrible, and we Maria Menounos offering us that house. Had we not got that house, who knows what happens, you know? And if the Schmodown even exists. So that's why I put those particular people on there. But you could also put I mean, I wouldn't really argue with putting Roca up there either, and not just because of accomplishments inside of the ring, but of what without John Roca, the storyline element. Well, yeah, but the storyline element, what people don't understand is that John brought that storyline. I mean, Finstock was always a character from the Schmoes nowadays, but not in the same way. John knew wrestling really well and knew how to do it. Like, people didn't know what John was doing except me. I knew what John was doing. Without John Roca doing what he's doing, Team Action wouldn't have been able to get away with what they did, right? Because he kind of set the bar that way, and then Mike Kalinowski and everything. So, if you were going to substitute either JT or Menounos or anything and put John Roca in there, you're not going to get an argument from me. But it's not based on just accomplishments and wins and championships. It's based off of foundation of what he built, and he built the character. John certainly did that.
And I think that even like what you said about JTE, right? He's been around for a while. Yeah, he took a little extended hiatus, but I would definitely put JTE even with his Patriots like days. And I know you've gotten a lot of flag for your take on the Patriots.
That's Hall of Fame stuff that you're talking about now. That's a difference.
Well, but he's still in the like.
Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame side of it. I'd go when we're talking Hall of Fame conversation and Rushmore conversation. That's when I put it. I think there's only like 4 to 6 people that should be considered for Rushmore, right? Hall of Fame is John Roca. Hall of Fame 100% is Dan Murrell 100%. JTE Snyder 100%. Clark Wolf, Rachel Cushing, those are Hall of Fame players. And as we get to our 10th season, I think that's when it's going to start to become a thing. I think I want to do like a Hall of Fame ceremony type thing at Schmodown for season 10. That's something I wanted to do.
That'd be so cool.
So Chris, I have to pull this one up.
You don't have to do
Chris,
anything.
You remember John Roca, right?
I do remember, yes, vividly. And
Suge with his attitude.
I hate Suge so much. But this match, Movement and Harris Bros, I like the idea of impromptu matches.
Yes.
Because I know the Schmodown's very wrestling influenced, and impromptu matches happen in wrestling all the time, regardless of promotion. Like, oh, we want to call out this team, this player, and they come out and have a match. Okay, great. And like, this is, I believe, one of the, like, I don't know, at least off the top of my head.
I think this is the first time that like we've had a like a call out match like on Friday Night Titan. So
well, definitely,
Well, no, you had. I mean, you mean as far because we did it in the cutscene with Flaus challenging, right? But it wasn't on the stage. It was in a cutscene, and then it's like because then Corey's like, no, we're going to do it right now. So that was kind of like the first one, or even JT challenging Brendan, but then the following week,
right? But
happening right then and right there, and then somebody comes out. Yes, that was the first one, and that was the beauty of Titans is the fact that like I said in the announcement of the pay-per-view, anything can happen. It's not the same thing every single time. It's like sometimes you'll see a crash right then and there. Sometimes you'll see a challenge for that week. Maybe there's a cutscene or someone else like saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this thing." Like, "Oh, when's he going to do it?" You know, it's like that's the type of stuff that you want to watch because whether it's a wrestling fan, whether it's your TV fan, and that's the thing that some people have said, like, "Oh, I'm not really a big wrestling fan, so I don't know how this whole format." Look at it as a TV show or like a heightened soap opera or like a some kind of crazy drama that you watch on television, you know. And it's the same. It's the same thing. It's just the only reason you think of wrestling is because wrestling did the format so well. But it is wrestling, but instead of wrestling, it's movie trivia. But it's also the reason what wrestling did especially in like the 90s and then it was make it that soap opera and add more of those scenes into it. Because like during the golden era stuff, they certainly had those interstitials, but not the same way that they do now, where they went full TV show with it. And they got that from serialized television shows, and they just took, and so we've just borrowed from all of that stuff. And so for people who don't know wrestling, you don't have to know wrestling to it. You just got to know characters. You got to know TV. You got to be invested in it. And I think more and more people are starting to, because they're starting to follow and you know, and it's going to be that. And I hear and I love the conversation. I hear it on your show, I hear it on everyone's show of like who's heel, who's face, who's not, who isn't. And I heard a whole debate where they were trying to say like that the movement, well, they're tweeners. They're not tweeners. If you like them,
that's a heel team.
If you like them, there's nothing, all I can do is hope that they can even be more miserable where you don't, but there's just so goofy, and Paul Preston is hard to dislike. But they don't do nice things. They don't do tweener behavior, Stone Cold Steve Austin stuff. They're rotten. And it's like, he didn't just challenge the kid. Everything out of JTE's mouth is despicable.
Mm-hmm.
And he's arrogant, and he's mad. He's calling the kid the Dennis the Menace after he lost. He's talking about, he's wearing ridiculous outfits and saying how they're gonna do this, and that he's the best of all time, and he's done. And they're just arrogant people, but they're funny arrogant, right? As opposed to like a Chandru, who Chandru is the goat. Chandru is the goat here. You're not gonna, because he does. Chandru in reality does not want you to cheer for him, right? He just does. He knows what the game is, and he knows how to play the game, and he knows that he is not doing his job if you're cheering for him. But it's a different thing for like the movement. And the same thing with like the ruling class. The ruling class are not.
Those are heels.
They're not nice.
Klaus
slapped Coy in the face. Violence. And yet everyone loves the three of them because they're funny and they have personality and they have charisma. But Ty is despicable. He makes fun of
he just the biting remarks, and just
he was talking shit the entire time.
I loved it. I loved it so much.
If you want to see Ty the heel, look at last week's episode, because that's what he was last week when doing the fashion show segment.
Right. See, that's the thing. People who don't understand yet, and I know that we're teaching people the terminology too. Like I see in Brian Nussbaum, is Wit a heel or a face? He's clearly a heel.
He tortured Paul and JT on that balcony. He left him out there for 3 days.
But dude, think about what he did last season. He kept trying. He was instrumental in Kaiser's turn into more, like, if you want to still call it, I think Kaiser more is leaning more towards face, but he was more towards a tweener towards the end. But like he was trying to take over Kaiser's faction when Kaiser entrusted in him. And you look at that. You look at that scene that he has with Parker in the back, and he told Parker that Kaiser was out and Kaiser was not around, and he's trying to maneuver Parker to not listen to Kaiser, and then he just runs away in the middle of the scene. That's not the actions of a good guy. Yes, he's funny and you like him, but that's not. Bobby the Brain Heenan was funny. He wasn't a good guy. Right. Like people who would say, Adam Witt, they call him the fan favorite. Yeah, it's an ironic twist that he's been. How did he come into power? And he's running around. Jen didn't even take him seriously when he came in. That's not a face. It's a comedic heel, but it's a big heel.
And that was my thing with the fan favorites. Like we talked about it on this show. I'm like, it seems a little bit on the nose, when it was first announced. Right. And I wasn't like, I don't want to see like super mega baby face. Oh, we're self-aware fan favorites. And I wrote it down. I'm like, yo, these guys are the worst. And I love that it's ironic. It wasn't what I was expecting. And again, like I watched the wrestling soaps, like pro wrestling is a soap opera in itself. Yeah. But I'm out here trying to predict what you're doing, and like, well, he got me there. The fan favorites are the worst, and they're one of the better things on Titans so far, because you're getting them over, like especially Paul Preston as a super heel now with Adam Witt, who no one ever thought they'd boo Witt. We're at that point now. Yeah. And JTE, it's easy to bridge that gap because of what he's done in the past. Yeah. But they're so entertaining and they're so much fun. And adding JTE's quirkiness with the movie guys, or what were the movie guys, it totally works. And especially in this match.
I got lucky with that too, because
I think too, like going back and talking about the match. So one thing that I've really liked this season, and everyone who knows me knows that I shout it from the rooftops. I am 100% always # team question writers. Always. And I love what's been going on with how these matches are going, because I'm able to play along. I know some answers. There's obviously a bunch that I still don't know, but it's still fun. And then I think even adding on top of that, you're getting into these wild cards. So in this match in round 2, we get wild cards, and it's just alien invasion movies for the Harris brothers, and they still do really well. But it's like that on the fly, just it's been so, and I don't think we've had a bad match. And a lot of that, I think, is really due to how these questions are written and the difficulty level that they're putting into them. And some that may not be as difficult, but it's making it not only good for the scores of these matches, but for us at home that have, like, I know a lot about very little with movies. Like, I know by what I know. So when I get those, like when we got the Vision Quest question, I
Oh,
was watching with my husband and I threw my hands. I went, Vision Quest. And my husband looked and goes, how the fuck do you know that movie?
Watched that like a year ago. But I'll tell you, I'm glad that you said that too, because that was the intent, and that's why PJ and his team are so good at what they do. Because I had the conversation where we were starting to get into place, and this is because of the tournaments and just digital age, and I understand that the mega trivia fan loved season 7 and season 8. It was their seasons, and I understand when people get upset with me that they're like, oh, you didn't like the digital season, and you disregard the season, and I don't. It's just not my favorite as far as the other ones go. But what the writers were doing, like, there were some really hard questions in round 1 towards the like end, and it was like, what I was worried about was, I'm like, if somebody tunes into this show, not our fans and not the hardcore trivia fans, but if somebody just tunes into this for the first time, they're going to be lost watching this every time, because they're going to be like, I don't know any of this. I don't know any of this. I'm like, I want somebody to be able to sit on their couch and do exactly what you just said. Scream Vision Quest, scream something else, be like, oh, I got it. And then when round 2 starts to play, like, oh, that's a little tougher. I don't know. And then round 3 comes in, you're like, ooh, maybe not. But round 1, you're playing along, and round 2, maybe there's some that you get, and you want the audience to be able to play along, because I want to find the next Marisol McKee. I want to find these people out there, and in order to find them, you got to build the confidence out there, not just on the hard level, deep cut stuff. You got to find the stuff that starts in the beginning, but you also got to find the people who've got the personality, understand the show, and understand all the elements. But you got to make it fun to watch. And like when you turn on any trivia show or anything, like even these you watch that Harry Potter trivia show, our inner geekdom players, they put that on, could win that in their sleep. Yeah. It is. Yeah. I mean, you put Chundru in there, he'll win. He'd be like Ken Jennings. Yeah. like Chundru or Mike or Smets. It's not even. It's they would destroy in those Harry Potter things. But you watch it because you feel, oh, I would do pretty good in this. So like inner geekdom, you're not gonna be able to change that much. You're just not.
Right.
Inner geekdom. There. I mean, I know a few matches that we've either taped or that we've seen so far, that even if the matches, and that's the other thing we want to do this year, is even if there are some blowouts and even if there are some things, was the match fun? Did you have fun watching it? Were the characters fun? Were the things in between fun? Like, you can't do that at digital. If it's a blowout, if it's other stuff, and for a lot of different reasons. One, if it's a blowout, you just watch it, you couldn't really do anything about it. It's like, okay, now I got to wait for the next match. Or if you're the competitor, oh, I just got my head kicked in. You want to have a beer? Oh, nobody's here. Okay. It's just me in front of my and so that's why it's so much different, and I think why people are finally kind of coming to grips with what this thing is now.
Yeah, and I mean, like, when you have it in digital, like, that's what you have to have something, right, to like keep it interesting. So when you had more of the sports side of it and making it more challenging and making it harder, it made sense. But I feel like now with Titans, from at least the matches that I've watched from I haven't gone through and done like a full rewatch. I'm working on it. But with the matches, how they were before, and then digital, and then where we are now, I feel like you guys have a really good, like, this is like, we're here. Like, this is how these questions should. I feel like it's just like that perfect mix of difficulty and fun and good matches for sure. I've been really loving it so far.
Yeah, I think that's why PJ is great. I mean, he's so easy to work with, and he's like the nicest human. And like, you call him up, and I'm like, hey man, this is kind of my idea of where I really would like this thing to go. And he's like, I hear you. How about this? And he'll come with me. And I'm like, okay. And I look at the questions, and I'm like, still a little, because PJ is a film nerd. I mean, like, knows so, like, if PJ wasn't in the writer, he wasn't the head writer, he probably could be a champion. Like, he's really, really good. But you got to tell him sometimes, not everybody, like, I've seen him like, oh, that's an easy question. I'm like, dude, no one knows that. I'm like, no one knows that. I'm like, you got to watch it for people like the person who's just buying a ticket in the middle of Kansas City right now just to go buy a ticket to the movies, and just a casual movie fan. That's who you got to write some of those questions for. Not all 10. And that's why not everybody's getting perfect rounds all the time, because you got to throw a couple hardballs in there. But I want, the goal is we also want it to be fun. And I think that that's what PJ and his team has really worked very well in doing.
I know we have time for one more wheel spin, but I do want to spotlight some of the questions or some moments from this match that I really enjoyed. I'm loving the trend of out of all these actors, who hasn't appeared in this franchise or who hasn't appeared in this movie. I think that's super rad. And again, it makes it way more fun to be like, oh shit, 'cause I don't remember ever seeing questions like that. Or if we did, they're very sporadic.
You know what's funny about that is that I heard a lot of people complimenting that, and I said, I want to take credit for that, but I don't know if I can. And I feel like I submitted that to PJ, a question like that, and he loved the idea, and he said, I'm going to start writing more questions like that, but I need to find the text first before I take credit for it. or let PJ say that that's what happened.
Like we had a couple questions like that in the main event. We had the alien invasion spin. I learned the plot of Pixels. I've never seen the movie, but I learned what the plot was in that question. And I loved the Fichtner, the William Fichtner, and the Harris Bros being like, did he mean William Fichtner? I love the camaraderie between teammates, and then they can hear it, and they can. It's rad. Yep. And it was the big question for the Tom Hanks movement when their wheel spin, and I think Paul Preston said big, and Mark's like final answer, and Paul said, "Are we streaming?" I got a real good laugh out of that. I got a very good laugh.
I also like the Harris brothers popping in, going, "Well, if that's the giant piano, gonna give that away."
Right. But then they get the hardest post question I've ever heard in my life. So it was a nice balance. It was a very nice balance.
It was good balance. No, they've been writing very well. It's been great. Yeah.
For sure. Awesome.
We got time for one more. Maybe.
One more. Let's get a good one.
I slowed the wheel down, so hopefully we don't end up in the same pocket of 3 like we just did.
I mean, we can keep talking about THE Paul Preston, the Paul Preston.
The Paul Preston.
God, he's crushing.
Yes!
Damn, Matt's excited. We're doing the sophomore surge. Because we had so many rookies come in last year.
Yes.
And that made waves. And Matt made a point. He let us know, and it's been from the real group chat. I want to talk about the sophomore surge. All these folks that are coming in from last year are jumping into this year. And I mean, like, just be solid. We talked about Ty Lieberman not too long ago. He's a guy that found his footing late into last season, and people were like, yo, this is going to be the guy going forward. And a loss, nonetheless. And now he's already he's on back-to-back Titans episodes, picking up wins already, and a great tag team with Whitney Seibold. But Matt, what about the sophomore surge got you so excited?
Well, realistically, like, I was just excited talking about some of these sophomores because I could have put sophomore slump question mark, but you don't want to see that. Like, that's the term in sports. You want to see these people surge. You want to see Paige surge. You want to see Radish surge. You want to see Jesse Swift surge. All these other young up-and-coming talents just surge, especially because they have great characters and who knows what the storylines can be with them. I just wanted to talk to Kristian about some of these sophomores because I remember I was lucky enough to talk to him about a year ago, actually, for a school project, and he and I ended up talking for about half an hour on just the rookie class and how strong it was.
Yeah, I mean, look, this I don't know. Somebody asked me the other day on that Q&A. They're like, when are we going to start to see more rookies? And I said, when we get them.
Yeah,
it's like I have to, like, this is the rookie class that came in, like last year's rookie class. I don't know if I shouldn't say I don't know if we'll ever equal it, but it was probably the best rookie class that we've ever had. See, Reddit, I said something nice about digital.
So you're saying it's the 1998 NBA draft class of the Showdown?
It might be. It has so many people inside of it that were just so great. I mean, the amount of talent that we found through the digital age was incredible. It was incredible. But the difference also was they had the advantage to audition during the draft time, during the I don't know, it's more what I will push back on is people like, well, if you don't live in LA, you can't perform. That's silly. We've had so many people that I was just looking at the list. I think we have people from Chicago, Philadelphia, Tennessee, somewhere else. Like there's tons, like Cleveland. There's tons of people like that were not in LA. So that is false. But it's the biggest difference was I was looking for a mixture of trivia and character last year when people were auditioning. I'm looking for you got to have a character now because of Titans.
Yeah.
Like I can't. And even if I put people who are regular trivia players, they might show up that way, but they ain't gonna stay that way, and they got to find a way to tap into that because they're just not gonna get enough screen time. Like there's not screen time because like it's like, yeah, okay, you went in, you won a match, but like, can you hit the angle that I need you to hit in order to tell the story? And if you can't, you're just not part of the TV show, and it's like, yeah, so like there are people that there are some rookies that definitely have my eye on, and I saw there was an audition tape I saw today. I will say this: I'm getting on a call with somebody tomorrow, an audition that I saw, and I really want. I will say this: I really want this person to join the Schmodown. Now,
That's awesome.
This person is out of town, but I need to find a way to get this person in town because I just think this person has the goods.
Nice.
So,
hell yeah! Looking out for some new faces this year. But I know Shiv in the chat mentioned Thomas Harper and Nikki DiMolanta, and the Star Wars division last year got such a
rookie class in Star Wars.
No one ever on these shows. No one ever asked me about the Star Wars division.
No, trust me. You're breaking Chris's heart because.
I was that guy you were talking about in the Facebook.
When we first started this show, I was the person who loved the Star Wars division, and Chris is like, "We don't need the Star Wars division. Throw it out." And then when you said,
Now
"Yeah, it's going to be less matches this year," he's like, "No." Right.
And I understand that. I understand it completely because you've now gotten attached to all these characters, and you've gotten attached to the players, and you can't disregard how great these players are. Like Andrew DiMolanta and Nikki DiMolanta were talking about it on their show. It's like they were making, rightfully so, they were making their case of like why the same thing that you were saying. It's like why like you have all these matches, like why can't you do it? The problem with their division is like the singles division. 70% are either local or can get here, right? And get in LA. There's a difference between like the Star Wars division. Nobody can get here. And it's like I only have, and I've told this, I only have 3 people I can fly in per shoot. 3. And I've got if I'm going to have to choose between getting Marisol McKee out here or a Star Wars player, I'm sorry guys, Marisol McKee is always going to get the flag. And it's also, there's something that like we've been talking about for a while about what we can do with the Star Wars division and how we can just try to change it up. And I mean, the radical idea that I have for it, fans aren't going to love it, but at least they'll get Star Wars matches. That's all I can say is that I don't know what to do with Star Wars matches. And the other stuff, and it's not confirmed yet. Like we thought we were getting 2 Star Wars panels because we've gotten them the last couple of years. We didn't get approved. We didn't get Star Wars panels.
Oh, wow.
And I've been going to Star Wars Celebration. So, so there's a breaking news for you. And I don't know yet. I don't know.
Does that mean no live event for Celebration either?
No, we're only doing 1 live event this year, and it's spectacular. Like this is why I was trying to like this is what I was trying to tell everybody, and it's like this is why I do get upset when people are like when I saw posts and saying that like I said if you don't join Patreon it's all going away. That's bullshit. That's not fact. It's not the truth. But being able to give you guys stuff on Patreon that everyone wants to be a part of in order to be part of this thing, in order to support it, it's not a matter of just supporting the show so it survives. It's a matter of being part of this thing that you want the pay-per-views every month, and that we put the money into the production every month that you want to watch it, that you want to see Sam Living versus Marisol McKee, and you don't want to wait for it because you're so amped up. You want to watch it like you would with wrestling, and we would watch everything else too. That's a business, and that's what we want to do. And we want to make sure that people that's why if you can buy it for single price at $15.99 or at $12, you not only get on Patreon that every month, but you also then get all these other added bonus stuff that we have and these other things that we do. And it builds, and that's why when we start adding new merch and stuff that we're going to have on there, like we're going to put a fan favorites shirt on there, right? We're going to have a DTA shirt. We're going to have these things on there. We're going to have all the stuff that we're building out that we want to do, and then obviously sponsors is like the number one thing. But in order for that to happen, for people and for naysayers or people who simply, to be fair to those people, cannot afford. Not everybody afford to be patrons, right? And not everybody can afford to slap down the $14.99 to get the pay-per-view. Well, then share the videos, right? Or comment on the video. And there are some people that do that every single time that they come, because if you look, and I posted something out the other day on my Titans episode 3 did really well because the engagement with the fans. If you're watching it and you're watching it live, throw a comment in there. The more you comment and the more like we interact with it and go back and forth, the more people will see it and it'll get picked up. And then if we can get sponsors, then we can get more things, and then we can then focus on live events next year. We made the decision to say, okay, look, what we can do is we can either do a couple matches on Tuesdays or do a couple things here, or maybe mix it with digital and then try to do 3 live events a year, or we can really go heavy, build up this show, build it up, make it something that people really want to watch, and then take Friday Night Titans on the road for like 12, 13 times in 2023.
Maybe it's because of the like because when you do the Q&As or when you pop on shows like this, and I know it's very hard to not be able to tell us everything. And I know we've talked about that on this show before, like the transparency. You can only be so transparent to a degree. But I know with the Star Wars stuff, and especially with the rookie class last year, we mentioned we mentioned Nikki DiMolanta and Thomas, and there's goal leader Marie and so many other folks, right, that did so well when they showed up last season, and they made such a splash. And then there was, I forget when it was exactly, but you said, "Oh, we're not going to have as many Star Wars matches," and there wasn't. There may or may not have been a reason at the time, but or at least that you made aware to us. So of course, people like me who are like, "Well, shit, like that, that was something that." Yeah. So like it's the, I don't want to call it misconception, but it's just not being fully aware. But at the same time, I shouldn't know the inner workings of the show now. I have no reason to do that or to be a part of those conversations. But like, damn, it's just, it sucks to hear, but I get it. I totally understand.
But then you also have the other side of the coin where this past tournament season, the Patreon early match was always Star Wars because of the way that the tournament went. It went Star Wars, I want to say teams, and then singles on the days that they were released. So then you had people complaining going, well, are we going to get anything else other than Star Wars as the day before? And it's like, no, like this is how
I'll give you guys, I'm going to give you guys a breaking story here. And Terry Lynn's going to get mad at me. This is not confirmed at all. This was the goal of what we would try to do, but we don't know if we can do it. One of the things, because Allison just mentioned Patreon, one of the things that we're pitching, and again, it's also about budget, guys. That's the other thing too. We have like the thing to be clear of. You have a set budget of what you have, and you have to make sure that, all right, do we think that we're going to be able to? You always need to make profit on a budget, right? So we need to, with all the stuff that we're doing in studio and all that. So the idea is, if you're getting Titans right now, you're getting the first half of Titans like the day before, which is, to me, I think you and it's a rough cut, and you can see bloopers, you can see things that happen inside of it. I think it's like the best deal because you get all amped up, and then you go back and you watch it the next day, and it's great. But we are considering putting the Star Wars division on Patreon, and then
I think that would make it worth it, honestly.
And then put the Star Wars division on Patreon, and then after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, put it on put it on the main channel and air it on one of the days that we don't have something, and then build up to, obviously, if it's the championship match, then we would then fly in the competitor, the challenger and the champion to play it live, so we wouldn't have to do fast money. So that's the idea. It is not confirmed. It is literally just conversations that we've had, myself and Terry Lynn. She's not going to be happy with me that I said that.
And the rumors start flying on the Facebook and Reddit.
The reason why I said it, to be honest, too, and I think, and if she's watching this, and then if I can tell her when I tell her later on the reason why I did it, it was because I know that people will start talking about it, and I know that the community will start talking about it, and I know that and I know if look, this is what I'll say: if Reddit is positive about it, then I'll do it. and that's not saying much. That's gonna we'll wind up probably not doing it because I can't see that they're gonna like it.
AJ Lancaster, Star Wars on Patreon. I
gotta
like
say
that.
AJ Lancaster. You know. Let me say something about AJ Lancaster.
He's the best.
Well, he's been a very big supporter of the show for a very long time. He was when we were doing SCN Live, he was very donations and everything too, and he's a very honest fan. He's a very honest fan, and he'll voice his concerns, but he does it in a respectful way, and he does it in a way that he's like, hey, listen, he's written me some DMs, and he's saying, hey, listen, I don't necessarily like the direction of this particular thing, but I just wanted to voice my concern, and blah 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 blah. That's how you do it. That's how you do it, and you don't just because everybody's human beings, guys. And that's I have a lot of respect for AJ Lancaster. But what I will say is that that's the idea to try to do Patreon, and again crediting it to Terry Lynn, who brought up the suggestion and said, what if we did this on Patreon? Is that something you'd be into? And I said I would. I just don't know if the fans would be into it. And if the fans are into it, and then we still have to find a budget to do it.
Right.
Because then if we put it on Patreon and nobody's joining Patreon after we do it, then we're just spending more money to pay competitors to do this, because we still got to pay the competitors the rates. We got to find a producer to do it. We got somebody to have to switch it. We got somebody to edit it and put the questions in it. So it's more money inside of the budget that we don't have. So we would have to have people sign up to the Patreon. If they don't, then it's gonna the experiment dies as fast as it began.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say I'm now even more happy I wore this shirt for dual reasons. Because one, this is without the Chicago event, I still have the ticket on my bedroom door. This show wouldn't be here because that's where I met this man right here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm getting this potential idea for the Star Wars division is awesome. Although I hate that I'm probably going to have to miss out on Spectacular for my college graduation. When's your
college graduation? What is it? December what?
They haven't set the date. We just know it's December.
It's not gonna be early December, is it?
Yeah. My school this past year was the weekend after Spectacular.
Okay, so maybe.
I refused to miss Spectacular this year because everyone gave me so much shit. Because they're like, Allison, you're such a Schmoedown fan now. Why aren't you going? I'm like, because I made another trip back in April before I fucking knew any of you.
Oh, so you didn't go to Spectacular?
I did not. I was in Texas with a bunch. It was my husband and I and my sister and her. Yeah. Like it was a big group. But I did enjoy day drinking, watching Spectacular via pay-per-view. So when I was literally at a bar, like on this big, beautiful Texas patio bar, when Thomas Harper walks out, and I'm very, 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 very not sober at this point. And as he walks out in all of his get up, I take my phone and I throw it in my husband's face. I was like, Frank, look at Harper. You gotta look at this. You gotta look. And like everyone that I'm with is like, what are you doing? Frank's like, we're with family. You could pay a little bit of I can't pay attention. Look at Harper. He looks really cool. Yeah. Like go on. It was so that was an experience.
So I just see Jeremy Miller asking this question: would Star Wars matches stay on Patreon? I have no answers for you. Like I said, I was thinking the same thing. The idea. The answer to that is probably no, because none of this stuff would. I mean, like I said, we would build the division out on Patreon, and then maybe leave a lot of them exclusive, and then update people through Titans and let you know kind of what happened. And because of it, now we have you could get a Star Wars title match at Titans or on a pay-per-view. I'd want to do those live. I think Thomas, I wouldn't. Yeah. And if anything in studio, I wouldn't do it on Patreon. I think that if there was a title match, we would just basically say, hey, if you missed it out on Patreon, you should go and watch it, because Nikki DiMolanta or Andrew DiMolanta or Alex Damon, they're playing against Thomas Harper for the title. Sorry. Or and then, yeah. So that's it. That's it.
Also, just real quick notes here on Spectacular. Mike Deacon is right. Many people saw me crying on FaceTime at Spectacular weekend because Kelly called me while everyone was very drunk at the bar and I was missing out. And it was, I cry a lot.
It's all right. Well, look. Hopefully you cry a lot in person in December, because that's the goal, right?
I cried in New York when Marisol beat Chance. I was standing there sobbing in New York watching that. Like it incredible.
So that's my point to everybody though too, is that like the nucleus of everybody who watches right now, if we all act as a community right now, and the after shows, Reddit, Facebook, everybody who is and I will say this, as much as like I have like I think like I have the same kind of feud I have with Shazam that I have with Reddit. And it's like I'm very appreciative of them because they're very passionate fans. I think a lot of them are really nice. I think some of them are dicks, to be honest. But like I think that they all come from a place of passion, and they all care about this thing and want it to survive, even if they say things that are dicky sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that everybody's guilty of that. I'm certainly guilty of it too, and I'm certainly guilty of it even when I'm kind of going after people on Reddit who are passionate about it, and I made my apologies for it. But either way, if everybody shared and everybody talked about it and everybody commented on the stuff too, right? And as I said, if you can join Patreon and you're able to join Patreon and you like the benefits, please join, right? If you can't and you can only afford to watch the pay-per-views when they come out on a single and that's what you can afford, then please do that. If you can't do that and you can buy a shirt of your favorite competitor or your favorite faction, please do that. If you can't do that, then please, every time you watch Titans, comment, like, share, put on the notifications, make sure you subscribe, tell your friends about it. If you can't do that, when a tweet comes out, retweet it, quote tweet it, like be active with the Schmodown account. When you see an Instagram post, like it, all of that stuff, that is crucial because you guys are the strong, powerful, one of the things one of the reasons Skybound was so interested to get involved with Schmodown is because of how interactive the audience was and how passionate the audience was. That goes a long way. Like when we're watching, when you're watching Titans, like I'm telling you, every episode, more comments are coming in. Last time, I think we're up to like 500 or 600 comments or something on the last episode. Let's get to 1,000 on episode 3. Yeah, episode 4, right? Let's get to 1,500 on the next. Like, make sure each one click like. I know sometimes people forget. It's so crucial. So everybody over there, again, the after shows, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're really building up on TikTok now, right? We're doing a lot of stuff on TikTok right now. David Michael Frank, Ben Bateman are working really hard over there and doing a lot, and we're building that up. Go on over to TikTok. Make sure you're following us over there. Comment, like, do all that stuff. That is how you help the show. If you can't afford to join anything, then please, the growth will come when you guys continue to help and share.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. I'm so grateful for this whole community. Who knew I would be making so many friends with strangers on the internet in my mid-30s. And I love it. I just got to go meet Chris. I was in Chicago last weekend or like 2 weekends ago. And I was like, Chris, I'm going to be in town. You want to go grab some food? So I got to hug Chris Anthony Lopez in person, which was wild. Like, it was so exciting. Like, I've literally made some of my greatest friends doing all of this. It's so much fun.
I'm going to be seeing a ton of the people I've met thanks to the Schmodown in June. So
I'm going to a wedding in the end of April that 2 people met on the Schmodown.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's great. That's exciting. Yay.
Real quick, Jenny Yakoveta, of course, throws in a Streamlab. I know a lot of people left Schmodown and are just coming back. I never left. I may have lost a little bit of interest, but I love that it's having a resurgence. Y'all are doing great stuff with this. I'll try to start commenting more.
Thank you. And I'll tell you what, I lost a bit of an interest, to be honest with you. Like, I lost a bit of an interest. Like, I imagine I've always felt like, and I couldn't imagine in a million years, but like, imagine you're a parent and you look one day and you're like, do I not like my kid anymore? Like, that's how I felt about the Schmodown for a second. And I was like, no, wait a minute. I'm just not. It's because I got under that because I got into the same conversation. I got into a lot of conversations with competitors about, and a lot, like, I'll tell you right now, like Paul Preston, I had a conversation with. Paul's like, it's after digital. He's like, I think I'm done. I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I'm like, Paul, this is not the show that you're meant to do. You're an entertainer. Like, you are an entertainer. You got into this. You came to me because you wanted to be in this thing, because you wanted to have a character. You wanted to have fun, and you haven't been able to do it. And he's like, yeah, I don't. I'm like, dude, give me a chance to show you what the studio is going to be, what we're going to do. And I told him that I wanted to do Adam Witt as manager and all this stuff. And now Paul's like fired up and wants to come up with all these ideas. And he's doing the peacemaker dance in the middle of the thing. And he's on board. So he's on board 1,000,000%, right? Like Ben Bateman, I had a conversation with Ben Bateman, and Bateman told it on the thing. He was the same thing. Digital beat everybody down. Like, it was only intended to go for 6 months, and it went for years. It beat everybody down, and the energy inside of that studio, like everything about it, and it beat you guys down. Everybody, it beat all you down. So people, like, I don't hold any grudges to anybody who said, like, I bailed for a little bit. It just wasn't the show that I loved, and I bailed. I don't. What I would say is, come on back. Because I think this, someone asked me the other day, I would change my rankings a little bit. Someone asked my favorite seasons of all time. I would switch. So someone said it, and I think it was actually someone in Reddit that was arguing with someone arguing with me about my take on Reddit. But but I think they were right, actually. And if I was to re-rank I would still rank the digital seasons last, but I would put 8 over 7. I think 8 was better than 7. Because I forgot completely when I was ranking them that 8 had the last spectacular, which was phenomenal, one of the best spectaculars of all time. It had Collision, which was a phenomenal collision. It's all stuff that we did have live stuff. We had all the Cantina matches, and we had this sophomore class, or this rookie class that we just talked about. So I think 8 is far superior than 7. So I would re-rank those.
I know this is around the time where we'd wrap the show, but we'd be remiss if while talking about sophomores for this show right now that we're doing, a rookie that made their name last season, who has been a pain in my ass ever since they joined Mooch Review Schmodown, but I've grown to love them and appreciate them. It's Rick the Ranger.
Are you suckers ready to rage?
That dirty mother trucker. He
is that his audition tape?
Yeah, because I cut the audition tape, so I have the original footage.
Hilarious.
The Rager has made such a splash, and I know earlier Corey Cameron said he can't wait for the Rager to show up, and same thing for Jeremy Miller. Like there's some big like the Rager, who has not lost yet, but mind you, like 3-0. He
called me and he left me a message and said he has deemed himself the best 3-0 player of all time.
Yeah, that tracks. That tracks.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Because, Rick the Rager Radis.
If you have a T-shirt, he said, "Can I?" He didn't say. He demanded a T-shirt that said "the best 3-0 player of all time," which I denied him the right, but he won't leave me alone now.
What? No 3-0 Daddy-O T-shirt? Come on.
3-0 Daddy-O is great, and I'm mad that it.
We'll add that to the suggestion box. That's how we put it.
Right, but Rick the Rager Radis, I'm jonesing to see what he's capable of doing. His regent, Taylor Cleek, is a good friend of ours over here at Spin from the Real, and we love him. But that Rick Radis, he was the worst for a very long time, and now, I mean, 3-0 Daddy-O, you can't deny him, Kristian. You can't deny him. Yeah, Peggy. I've turned the other side. I flipped the pillow on the other side. Got the cool side. Rager's rad, and I'm just jonesing. Like this, he had to run out on stage and demand a match too. Like is Mark gonna get from behind the desk and play him? Like I don't know. But
look. The Rager is I think one of the best characters that we've had in the league in a long time. And again, this is why I give so much credit to John Roca. Without John Roca, the Rager's not able to show up in a bathrobe and do what he does. But the Rager is a perfect example of this. The Rager is and we pulling the curtain back for a second with Taylor. He's another one of these guys. He's very hungry. He's very hungry, and he'll find that's the difference of people who really want it in the Schmodown is they will like the people who have it's a bigger picture mentality, and that's if you really know. And you feel the energy and you understand. That's why I always my dad always taught me this too. People always want to see you. It's human nature. People always feel that that people are going to fail. It's just the human nature. They always, they don't think that things are going to work out. They don't feel like people are going to succeed. And they always many times over, Schmodown's dead. It's not going to happen since season 4, season 5. That's it. It's peaked. It's not going to. Taylor's not one of those guys. Taylor sees the big picture. Taylor understands that Taylor was around and saw and sees energy and sees the idea and understands what it can be. And he's one of those guys that he'll find a way to get there. He'll find a way to get there and he'll find a way to play. And those people who, if you have character and you can get there, you're going to play. So yeah, there's tons of people like that.
So funny enough, when we first started doing that and helped Taylor make Rager, Chris and I, we showed him this. He's like, are you sure this would be my speed? And we're like, we know you love wrestling, Taylor. Just watch. and then he
There-
got hooked.
He went
There-
after. He's very
I
funny.
love it.
Quick. He's quick. That's what I like about him. He's
Yes,
funny.
yes.
He's quick. He gets it. You just saw Peggy Gubbins in the audience. Peggy
Another
Gubbins.
one. Mhm.
Peggy gets it.
Mhm.
I had a great conversation with Peggy. I don't know, like a month or two ago, and we talked about some stuff, and she's a team player, right? And that's like,
Mhm.
and there's a difference between a team player, someone who just does, oh sure, I'll do whatever you want. That's not a team player. A team player is someone who has suggestions, who wants to do stuff, but a team player is someone who wants to take it to the next level. And it's not just the players, and it's not just the managers, not just production. It's you guys, right? It's people who want to take it to the next level because how much fun would it be in general, right? Like, and this for everybody. And again, calling everybody from TikTok to Reddit to Facebook to all you guys. How much fun would it be that if you guys were in on this thing before it blew up, before it became the thing that I know it can be and will be. If you guys, the ones who comment all the time, if you were in here, you could say, "Oh, I was in here way before this show was doing 1 million views per episode. I was here when it was only doing 10,000, 20,000 to 30,000 an episode." You know, like that's that you're gonna have a sense of pride on that. And
Mhm.
to my good friends over at Reddit, I mean, yeah, we used to be real dicks to each other, Harloff. We have a mutual understanding now because we all built it together, right? Like I want that kind of stuff. Like, and that's what I hope that we're gonna continue to get. And people like Taylor and people like Peggy and all these people that are in Paige, you know, they're just hungry and they want it, and they want to be there, and they want to try to build it. Because my overall goals, I want someone like I want to never say to you guys ever again, oh, I could only fly 3 people out. I want to be able to get the whole damn roster out anytime I want. I'm able to fly the roster around to Australia and do shows in Australia. I want to be able to do have like a full on, you know, be able to, it's just, I want Paige and Peggy and everybody to, hey, I could do my taxes this year. I made a shit ton of Schmodown this year. Like, that's what I want. Like, I want them to be household names. I want people to be walking around, and it is possible. If people can do it inside of esports, and people can do it inside of darts, you know, then we can do it. We can do it on Schmodown. We just need to work together.
I mean, it seemed like you guys were about to hit there right when the pandemic hit. So I remember you were supposed to have that ESPN story, and I was like, oh, that's the one. That'll be the story that gets it to go boom. And then
that's what happens. But I mean, like, and I always like give so much credit to people who are so open about, you know, whether it's times of mental distress and depression and things. And I've never really been that person. I mean, I've spoken pretty openly about, like, when my brother passed, and I was like, for a long time, I kept too much inside for a very long time. And it caused me some problems even at work, which publicly. But I think that I went through, when you care about something as much as I care about the Schmodown, and during that time, the ESPN, I went through a really bummer of a period, a really bad period. And even like, and the stuff that really got me too was like when all the R&B stuff went down too, right? Like all that stuff that went down, because R&B is a buddy of mine, it's a friend of mine, and people still. And the thing is, like, when I joined up with Skybound, still, that's a production company. They run the show, but I'm always going to be the one that people direct stuff to. Anytime something happens, like, I'm running creative. What people don't understand is I run creative. I run the creative. That's what I do now, because that's what I've decided to do. That's why I joined with a big production company. Doesn't matter. If anything goes down and anything happens in any part of this, everybody comes to me or everybody comes to Mark. Even when we have nothing to do with anything. People will come to us because we built this thing. And it's part of what we've done. But when we get things and when we see things that, like, all this other stuff that comes in, I was really in a place where that ESPN thing that you mentioned, you get to a place where you're just like, what the fuck do I have to do? Like, every time I have a step up here and I'm here and I'm like, okay, we just sold out Atlanta. ESPN's going to do this. We're picking up on views again. We're getting back to 40, 50, 60. Backstage is doing 20,000 views per episode. And then it's like, nope. And I'm this is the world that it's not just, oh, poor me. This is the world at this point. But I'm just saying, you get to that point and you're like, fuck, okay, well now, all right, so let's push through, let's try to do this, and then you try to come up with this, and then it just seems like everything just falls apart, and like you don't want to be that person saying, oh man, this is it's all just happening to me, because it is happening to everyone, but it kicks you in the nuts. And so many times I've wanted to give up, and so many times I've wanted to say, I'm just gonna like, and that's why I love, like, I think my channel, the Kristian Harloff channel, was a saving grace for me, because it allowed me to just kind of talk into the microphone and do what I do with my friends and have a fun conversation and do that, and be able to kind of during the off season not concentrate as much as Schmodown, because I took a breath. And when I was laying there for Royal Rumble, as I was going to watch it with my daughter a little later, and I took a nap. I was napping, and I started to think about it, and I was just like, holy shit, I've been doing the show wrong. I've been doing it wrong. And then I called Thad, and I was like, let's do Monday Night Raw. Let's do Dynamite. Let's do that. And if this is, and I say it, if this is the last, and I don't believe that it will be, but if this is the last year that the Schmodown ever was, right? Like, let's say worst case scenario, we put our heart and soul, our blood and tears into this thing. Nobody joins Patreon, nobody buys merch, no sponsors come, and no live events, and it just bombs completely, which is certainly a possibility, right?
I don't think it's likely after what's been going on the last few years.
Probably not likely, but it's a possibility. You got to be prepared for that possibility. But if it is, I would rather go out swinging with a great product than to have bowed my head down on digital, going, oh, that's not really what I really love to do, and then just left. I would rather you guys have moments as fans to look inside of all of this and say, holy shit, that Shannon scene this year, and that match that we had between the Barbarian and Sam was incredible, and this moment, the free for all this year, and that, and you have all that, and that's the last thing that we ever do. Then I would take that. I would take that, because I would rather go out fighting with this thing. And and if I can, if the Schmodown itself can inspire people to want to join it, to want to join Patreon, to want to get it sponsored, to want to share it, to want to comment, well, then maybe it's not supposed to be. But I think this is it. I think we're gonna do it.
I think so too.
Hell yeah! And in Titans, I remember a long time ago that I'm like, the Schmodown, this is how it should be. This is how it works. The 2 videos a week, and you still got the cutscenes in the matches and everything. But Titans may have been like the how y'all are formatting it now, doing it like Dynamite, doing it like SmackDown. Like it's for the better, and it shows in the few sample sizes that we've gotten, and y'all just started. So,
and I agree. I'm looking at the Titans episodes right now. Episode 2's already got a couple thousand more views than episode 1, and then episode 3 is almost halfway to where episode 2 is, and we're not even a full week into it yet. So. Yeah,
well, that's what look, the pay-per-view, as I mentioned, everybody here, if you have not joined Patreon at the $12 tier, please do it if you can afford it. The event itself is going to be well worth it. Bibbs and Chance, Marisol and Sam, that alone, right? And then the other thing is make sure that you are when you see it, comment when you're watching it live, when you're watching it when you're watching it during the premiere, throw a comment down, because once it goes public, that comment will help, and we're responding. And I'm taking the same strategy I do on my other channel. I'm personally responding to everything. I'm responding to every comment, and I'm going back and forth. I'm going to wind up dropping dead with commenting back to everybody, because I believe that that's what's necessary. And I think that, all we're asking for is liking and commenting and checking out the Patreon and really pushing it. That's it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm sorry, last thing I say, I've been kind of talking up a storm here.
Please,
please, no, keep going.
But the last thing I'll say is that, people are like, what I would ask yourself for naysayers and for people who are negative about it, or even have concerns about it, the question is what. And I saw some like a dickhead comment that was just like, oh, the Schmodown needs new leadership. I will say to that person, as loving as I can, go fuck yourself. And the reason I say that the reason I say that is because I want to ask you a question. Like, why do you think that I do this? Like, why do you think that I like do this? You think I just do it because of a job? It's not. Mm-hmm. I can, if I wanted to, I could just take my channel and I could build that channel out, and I could do what Dan Murrell has done so very well. And done so well, and I get jealous of Dan sometimes for what he's done, because he's just been able to build out his channel and do his thing. And I could go and do that, and I could take my family somewhere, and I could move away from Los Angeles. And trust me, I've thought about it. But then I look at it and I say, this community, this product, these competitors, this is something special. Nobody does this. Everybody does movie reviews now. Everybody does movie news. Everybody does that. Nobody does this. We're the only ones. And I say we. And I'm not talking about just me and the competitors. I'm talking about you guys. I'm talking about everybody who's commenting. I'm talking about, like, this is special for you guys, because this is your thing right now. Like, eventually the goal is it'll be a lot of people's thing, but it was your thing first. Help make it your thing. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's not a matter, like, why do you think that I'm asking you this all the time? Why do you think I'm out there too? Because just because I want my business to succeed, it's certainly something that I want. I'd be a fucking idiot if I didn't. But of course I want my business to succeed, but I also want to do it because I want to keep giving. I look forward to the comments and looking at people going, reacting to the scenes, and hearing, I'm calling into after shows and talking to people too, because I want to hear people get excited about it, because it's the same way we geek out about TV shows. Why can't this be your TV show? Just because it's movie trivia? Fuck people if they say that to you. It's not. It's a TV show, and it should be a TV show. So
me tearing up, because literally this community has meant so much to me in the time that I've been here. Because when I came in right before New York, you don't know this, but right before about 2 weeks before we came up to New York, I lost my job. God damn it. This is like the third time I've cried on this fucking show. This is so stupid. This is so dumb. I lost my job very unceremoniously. It was not something, it made me think that I'm not good at what I do. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
And I had gotten in a little bit. I was doing a couple Patreon things, but I had made some really good friends. And then I was in New York, and I got to meet some of these new friends that I made. And then from there, got to meet, talking with Chris I was able to, that's when I ended up talking to Ben Rayner just through Facebook, and joined Schmodown for,
Yeah.
And from there, just got this whole opportunity. I fell in love with just doing this and talking to people, because I just love talking to people. And I've just found something that my husband and I connect on. And now he's even happier, because I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, I'm like, oh, I had no idea Ivan Reitman directed Twins. Never would have known that if I didn't start looking up what else Reitman's done from, and it's just, I saw Jeff in New York City. Like, it's created such a happiness for me and an outlet for me, and being able to enjoy all of this. And like, I'm in a much better place now. Obviously, I have a great job. I'm in Atlanta, which is why I'm sound probably horrible, because my sister just had a baby. So it's just like, awesome. It's incredible. And to hear you talk about it so passionately, it puts even more of a spin and a perspective on it, because we can always sit back and Monday morning quarterback how someone should do something. Right?
I don't mind that though, Allison. Honestly, I really don't. When it comes to, I look forward to that. Like, I look forward to when people are talking about the product and looking at it, and there's certain things that they liked and didn't like. And I mentioned the other day on Big Thing, I was talking about the Galaxy Geeks, and they had this whole thing, and they said a bunch of shit that I didn't agree with. I didn't agree with like 60% of it, but I love that they were talking about it, and I love that they had their opinion on it, and they were passionate about it, and they did it in a way that a sports show after show should do. And that's part of it. That's part of it. You should, like, I'm not saying love everything, guys. That is the last thing I'm saying. I want you to tell me when you're, like, I just mentioned before, I mentioned with AJ Lancaster with stuff and business decisions that we made. He's like, as a fan, not a big fan of it, but he did it in a way that I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like, he is like I know it's easy sometimes for people to, be at each other's throats, especially in the world that we live in too. But like, we're all, unless you really, there's some people who just hate things and still watch it. I've never understood that. Like, whether it's this or Star Wars or DC or Marvel, like, there's some people who just watch it to hate it. I don't get it. If you're one of those people, I'm never going to be able to talk to you. But if you're not one of those people and you're just one of those people that just want to like have a conversation, help us together. So let's push it to the next level. Let's just and I'm telling you this in all the ways that I just mentioned. And I'm making it very clear. And then I got to go because my wife has been texting me like,
yes.
So as I said, it has nothing to do with Patreon, just joining Patreon, because I will to reiterate, as I mentioned to the Reddit thing before, like, and I apologize to this guy who made this guy was a guy who was he's a pretty big fan, and he had said something that I didn't agree with, and it was in the case of Reddit Patreon itself, misquoting me and saying the fact that I think that Patreon is the only way. If you don't join Patreon, it's dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I then posted his comment and said, this guy's negative, blah, blah, blah. And I shouldn't have done it. It was in poor taste and I shouldn't have done it. I was just passionate about it. And I got upset about it and I posted it. It doesn't mean that I still don't disagree with the guy. But he's allowed to make his take if that's what he thinks. But my point is that Patreon is a point of it where Patreon is our streaming service. And that's the way that I look at it with the $12 plus the other benefits that you get. It's very crucial and we need it in order to build, but we also need to build audience. And in order to build audience, we need you guys to comment and to share and to like and to retweet and to be part of it, because the more you do that, the more people will see it and start to get recommended. And then I just saw somebody in your chat saying, I just introduced this to my girlfriend. She had never heard about it before. That's great news. The great news is that if people do know about it and go, no, I hate that, I don't watch that, I never watch it, everybody knew about it and didn't watch it, then we're done. But a lot of people who are movie fans and wrestling fans and entertainment fans who have never heard about it and then they find it, then we're in good shape. And it's you guys that can help us do that. So please, again, Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, after shows, TikTok, everybody out there who watches this show and you're passionate about it, everybody, like if we can be bipartisan, all of us, and if all of us can be bipartisan to do what the world can't, and if we can all as a Schmodown community come to help this thing that we love. I don't give a shit if you hate me, right? I don't care. Like that's fine. There's some people that are just not going to like me, and that's part of it. But if you love the thing, if you love the competitors, if you love the after shows, if you love the people that are competing in this thing, help it grow. Help it grow, because it is working now. If it was back in the digital thing, you're like, you're just saying this now because it's just not working anymore. You cannot tell me that when you look at the comments now and you look at the passion, and you look at people get excited about this, and as it happens every week, how many people, you guys, like as Schmodown fans, don't you wish it was Friday?
Yeah.
And I'll be quite frank, and this is going to be pulled back curtain a little bit. Chris and I weren't sure if we were going to continue on into this because we were missing this element. Like,
right,
Chris is like, I don't know if I can rock with the Schmodown. I'll give it a shot and we'll see where it can go. And Shug was feeling somewhat the same way, and I was. So like when we saw we got nominated, we're like, wow, that's really gonna suck if we end this. Like, hey, we got our nomination. Bye.
But like I said, I get it. I understand. I was with you. I wasn't too far away from saying I might be done. Like if we had to do digital again, I probably wouldn't have done it. I probably would have just said that's good run. Yeah. But with the studio, I said I know it, because if you look at season 6, when we left 6, the hype was real. It was big and people were excited, and we're just continuing that. Except now we got a lot of talent that we found through the digital age, and now we have a much bigger roster now. Yeah. So anyway, all right, look, it was a pleasure talking to you guys.
Thank you, Kristian. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristian.
Real soon, and then I'll send you, and I'm going to give you guys a number to my wife when she complains about it.
Wait, no, don't do that.
No. Go ahead and give that to Allison. Can probably handle that a little bit more. But
I'll talk nicely.
Thank
Bye,
you,
Kristian. Thank you.
Kristian Harloff. Everybody.
Yeah, Kristian Harloff.
That was not expecting him to stick around as long as he
right. What was supposed to be 30 to 35 minutes ended up being
like,
an hour and a
I got
half.
till 9, and now I have 2 hours.
He told us again to pull the curtain back. He told us no less. I shit you not. 60 seconds before we went on. Hey guys, I got 35 minutes.
35 minutes.
And we're like, well, okay, we'll make it work. We'll do fine. And then okay, here we are.
It was like, yeah, he's like, no, let's go. Keep going. I'm like, cool.
I'm not gonna say no. Like
no.
Like I mean. We went along with Ty last week, so like I can't go along with Kristian. You know? Like
Chris, this is what we've been
for
working
Kristian's
at for
choice. We did not hold him hostage. Just letting you guys know, we did not hold.
We didn't hold him hostage. But no, it was nice to finally get Kristian on here, especially with this being a thing for nearly 2 years. And I'm actually going to be that guy to go into our YouTube live stream because I know it's one of our first ones, and see how long the show's actually.
By the way, hey Paige, hey
It's,
Danny, sorry I couldn't say hi
Matt-
to so many of you in the chat. Peggy,
Matt,
April
Danny, William
15th.
Harold,
April 15th.
Haley's
Yes.
here. Amazing.
I there's something I'll tell you when we get off of the stream because I don't want to put all of our business out.
Okay, production.
okay.
Production.
But I know. But
I didn't do it this week.
Thank God. But yeah, in a couple of weeks will be 2 years of Smith and our 2-year anniversary on Smith and the Real, and it's going to be it's super surreal. And I know I've been me more so than the three of us or Shug, who's with us for the entirety of season 8. But I was very like, oh my God, like I would love to talk to Kristian. I would like, I want to, that was because I'd seen other shows and like he'd pop up on there and I'd be like, yeah, damn, like we're just like, yeah, we're here. And thank God. And I love that he mentioned it, like the entire community, like shout out to everybody, Galaxy Geeks,
Yes.
C2A, Let's Get Ready,
CPOV,
any given show day before they got on the LGR and while they're there. Like there's so many Flick and Reel. There's so many channels that
Insight with Tim Sim. There's just
Tim Sim. Like
Tusa,
I was at 2 places at once tonight because that episode premiered.
I saw that, but I'm very appreciative. Whether you were like me and you started watching with Knapsack and Sackoff all the way back at Popcorn Talk, or you're like Allison who just jumped in not too long ago. Euro Schmoes, thank you, Shug. There's so many shows and so many people that showed us love between now and then, and Kristian coming on the show. I think to me it shows how far we've grown as a show, and it's very surreal and very, 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 very appreciative. And of course, Show Me the Money. Like Jeff and Buck, the both of y'all had just extended Smith and the Real at this point. Yeah, like it's a matter of time before Show Me the Money just becomes this show or vice versa. But
thank you, Jake.
This whole space has been so kind to us and so good to us, and we are very, very appreciative. And Kristian is like nice cherry on the top of all that. Now, Mark Ellis, you're the next one. In 2 years, we'll get you, Mark. Like you're the next one.
Get you, Mark. Seriously, no, I'm so grateful to be here. All of you guys are amazing. You all have been so kind and so welcoming and so open with me and my very loud mouth, which some people love or hate. But we've been going for 2 hours. I feel like we got to do some plugs. So Matt, what do we got going on the channel?
Damn right.
So it looks like Real Sports is coming back tomorrow. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to talk about the Deshaun Watson trade and March Madness.
You can also talk about the Matt Ryan trade.
That happened today too. I think we might have to bring Toby Barkwell on.
Yeah, that did happen too.
For a third round draft pick though, so I mean I'll take it.
It's a steal.
I'll take it.
Where are the Sox though? Except you guys are eating $4 million in dead cap. Hey,
it's true. But let's get through these so I can plug my sock thing again. Let's go.
But realistically, it's just that
subscribe to the channel, people.
Yeah, subscribe to the channel.
If you want to subscribe, please
Jake
subscribe.
says hey, we should check the other Streamlab, by the way.
I haven't done a refresh in like 3 minutes. So give me a minute. Jake, I got the second one. I got the Action Army Till I Die. Oh no, never mind.
No, I was about to say that sounds incredibly foreign to me.
Sorry, I got caught up in listening to Kristian. I will admit to that being the issue.
It's okay. It's okay.
Hashtag Action Army. I will rep it till I die. Also, just hope Rager doesn't accidentally start a stream too early and cluelessly walk around damn near butt naked like Roka did once. That was just disturbing.
Yo, Action Army. Yeah. Damn right. You know, we've.
I didn't want to say it with Kristian yet, so because we're still getting to know each other. But let me throw this out there. That's Action Army and the nerds in suits, the bed. Y'all are the real MVPs for me because that's the crew that I just jumped in with head first, and y'all have been amazing, and I love each and every one of you so much. So thank you.
Right back at you. And Shug, much love to you, brother. You already know how
Yes,
much we
Shug.
appreciate you
You
over
know.
here.
You know,
Shug's still a part of our header on Twitter. He'll forever be part of this show. Plus, it's just a really nice picture. But yes, Allison, before we leave, please let the people know what we have about 2 hours left Eastern time.
Yes, here we go. Hold
today.
on. We're gonna see if I can do this. Let's see if I can.
I'll do it.
I got my fun sock on. Woo! So,
I don't have fun socks. I'll be honest.
so again,
I don't want my shorts to write up.
Wait, hold on. Wait 1 second.
3/21, World Down Syndrome Day, Down Syndrome Awareness Day. The way that we celebrate, the reason it's on 3/21, it is a triplicate of the 21st chromosome. My oldest brother Chess has Down syndrome. He is a fucking gem. Y'all would love him. Big wrestling fan. Anyway, the way that we celebrate this is we rock fun socks. You can also do a random act of kindness, but fuck that. We're going to wear socks because none of us are nice people. So there we go.
I just remembered I have these.
That counts.
Perfect.
Totally counts.
So all you got to do is get on Twitter, post a picture of you wearing some socks, post a picture of socks. I don't give a shit. You ain't got to be wearing them. Just post some socks. Tag me in it at Allison Salamoni, and you and do the hashtag World Down Syndrome Day, Down Syndrome Awareness Day, whatever works. And for every every person who does that, I will be donating $1 to the National Down Syndrome Congress, which is the organization that my brother with Down syndrome works for. He actually does their movie reviews. He's a big movie guy. So keep that in mind. But yeah, so do that. And I'm going to donate I said for every post up to $200. I'm just going to donate the flat $200 either way because I planned for it. So it's going there. I got some other friends that are going to match the donation for the, for how many posts and tweets and stuff of that I get. So let's go. Let's rock those socks. We got a couple more hours here on the East Coast. Y'all got about a few more hours over there on the West Coast. So let's get it.
And again, either Allison's Twitter or at Spin for the Real. We've been retweeting a bunch of those on our page as well. Get the hashtags. Make sure you tag Allison so she can see it. 100%.
Put my name on here so people can see it.
It's in the description of the video as well.
Yeah.
Or you just go on Spin from the Real right down there at the bottom, and you'll see
retweets of her and all
you'll
that,
see all that fun stuff. And everyone's cool socks, that too.
Yes.
You'll see a bunch of what everyone has going on. But again, thank you so much to everybody in the chat. And if there are folks who forgot, we apologize. It got very sentimental in the last 10 minutes, and I almost started crying, but I don't want to take Allison's gimmick.
Yeah.
But again, thank you all so much in the chat. So for the CEO, Matt Thomas, and for Allison Salamoni, make sure you go ahead and check out our Twitter. My name is Chris Anthony Lopez, and don't forget, y'all, Spin for the Real, not the pegs. We'll see you guys next week.